What's going on YouTube? A Delicious Mango here with another ranked guide. It's finally happened. You guys have been asking me on Twitch for a long time. You guys come in my chat frequently and say, hey, you have any tips for gold trying to get to platinum or platinum to diamond? You know, all that kind of stuff. Even the Diamond to Masters players, you guys think you may have it all figured out, but trust me, I learn something new every single day in this game. And with the amount of time I've spent solo queuing Apex Legends, I've learned a lot of things and a lot of tips that can help people at all skill levels and at all ranks, whether you're silver, all the way up to masters trying to get to pred. I've learned a lot of tips, and I think I can help you guys out with some of your frequently asked questions. So in this video, I've got 5 tips to help you gain more RP and ranked, specifically on World's Edge. I'm going to go over some specific things, such as which legends I think are the most useful on this current map in the current meta, as well as some general things, such as what kind of rotations should you be looking for, when should you fight, and when should you go rotate to the next ring. I'll have all those tips in this video. Without further ado, guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please do go ahead, consider hitting that subscribe button, and let's get started with the first tip. I'm actually going to start today with the first legend recommendation I've ever made in a ranked guide, and I've made a few of these. I usually say you should play who you are the most comfortable with, but in the current ranked meta and the way this game currently works on World's Edge, I think there are 2 legends that are more useful than any other legend in the game. Aside from Gibraltar. Gibraltar you can plug and play with literally every squad, so if you're a Gibby player, don't change. Everyone loves a good Gibraltar. But the 2 characters I have in mind are Valkyrie and Caustic. Valkyrie and Caustic do 2 things that simply no one else can do in this game. Valkyrie has the single greatest rotation potential of any character in the game, and there are some times where you literally cannot survive a situation unless you have Valkyrie. Her ability to be able to use her ultimate and reposition by simply flying above all the fray and chaos and things that you have to endure in this game. She can run away from rings, is super helpful, get over fights. If you have enough KP and you want to get to the end of the game, you can simply fly to the middle of the next circle and avoid everyone. You don't even have to rotate smart. All you have to do is fly and rotate simply higher than everyone else. Valkyrie is so useful for that, and she's the only legend in the game that can do that. The other legend that is completely on a class of his own is Caustic. Simply put, if you are inside a building and you have a Caustic, you're probably going to win the fight. If you want a building and you're running up to the building and you have a Caustic, you're probably going to win the fight. His gas is in such a great spot right now. It stuns enemies. It does this little blur thing to their screen. It even almost acts like a flashbang when you first get hit by different gas barrels. Of course, he's got the barrels that he can set off himself. His teammates can shoot it. It can provide cover. It can provide smoke so people can't see through it. He, of course, can see through it perfectly fine. And then the gas grenade is probably the single best tool for clearing out a room. If you want a building and you can throw a gas grenade in on a floor, your team basically owns that floor now. I've been using this technique a lot in Diamond and Masters games. Caustic is a legend I usually never play. I probably only have like 200 kills on him in my career, but he is incredibly useful in this current meta, and you do not want to fight against a Caustic unless you have a Caustic on your own team. So 2 legends that I would recommend, the first time I've ever actually recommended legends on this channel, Valkyrie and Caustic. They just simply do things that other legends can't do, and because of that, I think they're incredibly useful, and you should consider having them on your team. The second tip that I have is World's Edge has both small combat zones and large-scale combat zones. You could be fighting out in the field with just some tall rocks as cover, or you could be fighting inside buildings. It's a very diverse map, so I believe that you should have a ranged weapon and a close-range weapon in your arsenal at all times. My second tip is do not run double SMG. Don't run an SMG shotgun. If you're just simply cracked and built different than the rest, then maybe it's worth your time to run 2 SMGs. But for most players, I would say you probably want a long-range weapon such as a sniper or a marksman rifle, and then you want to run some kind of shotgun or SMG on the side. Just some ideas that I have. I think longbow and Volt is a great option. I think the 30-30 repeater if you like it, and the R99 or the Volt again, or the Prowler even. I mean, any SMG is fantastic. If you want to run a shotgun, I would suggest running an R301, a Flatline, or a Hemlock along with that shotgun. I really wouldn't recommend running a shotgun and a marksman rifle because you kind of want an automatic weapon in there at some point. But because of the variety of places that you can fight in this game, you probably need a variety of weapons, and the ability to have long-range weapons can get you some free and easy kills that is incredibly useful. You'll be very thankful if you're using that marksman weapon and you just hit someone for 60 damage while you're third partying and you get the knock and you get a free kill. You really didn't even have to commit. It's so useful, and I highly recommend using some of those long-range weapons to farm shields and get some easy KP from a distance. It's safe, it's effective, it's really smart. Would highly suggest using it. The third recommendation that I have, and the third tip for World's Edge in Season 11, is quite simply know when to rotate. I'll tell you this right now. Right now in this game, fighting in the storm is really not ideal. The way my teammates and I try and work this out is we will fight outside of the ring, like not inside the next ring, but not in the storm either, kind of outside the ring, until the ring starts to close. And once that ring starts closing, you really don't want to be fighting anymore. It's too hard to rotate. The map is too familiar to everyone. Everyone kind of knows what's going on, so you really want to just be rotating when the storm is closing. You either want to be inside the next ring, or you want to be running and not having to fight someone on your back as you rotate in. If you are fighting someone and you're rotating, chances are some team that is already inside the ring is going to start looking at you. You're going to get pinched and it's a disaster. So my third tip is know when to stop fighting. If you're fighting someone and there's 15 seconds left on the clock and you've got a long way to go, honestly, if you're using Valkyrie, just pop that ultimate and leave. It's okay. You can get that KP later. You can get it at the end of the game. You'd rather stay alive and give yourself more opportunities to fight later than die early. There's really no sense in fighting while the ring is closing, so my next suggestion is pretty simple. Know when to rotate, know when to get cut up on a fight, cut ties, get out of there. Especially if you're Valkyrie, you have the easiest rotation in the world. Know when to leave. It's not worth fighting while the storm is closing. My fourth tip is this. A lot of people aren't playing center ring, which is kind of counterintuitive because you'd think the safest place to play is center ring. But a lot of times, teams are having a hard time getting the loot or the KP they need because this is a very kill point weighted ranked system. If you're a high-level player like Masters, Apex Predator, or even Diamond, you really feel like you need to get maximum KP just to make your game even worth it, even if you win. If you're a Masters player and you win with 0 KP, you barely go positive. But if you get 7 KP in 10th place, you'll gain even more points than you did if you won and didn't get any kills. So a lot of teams like to play on the edge. Use that to your advantage. Once you get some kills, go ahead and play that center ring. You're probably going to be very safe. You won't have to worry about too many fights, and you will be able to make it to that final 4 squads. You'll be able to fight for that last position and hopefully get the win. I promise you guys, not a lot of teams are playing center ring. And if you are deciding to play as a Caustic or as even Wattson even, that center ring is really valuable real estate. A lot of people aren't rotating early these days, so I'd highly recommend that technique of getting in there early. Once you get those kills, go ahead and get lined up at the end. I promise you, it's worth your time. The final tip that I have, guys, is if you are solo queuing, I would really consider using your microphone. You may be a little nervous about it. I know there's a lot of toxicity in Apex rank sometimes, and people can chew each other out. They'll yell, they'll blame their teammates. But guys, I promise, even just turning your mic on for a moment to say, I dealt 100 damage to this guy is invaluable information. Maybe you're quiet, maybe you're like me and you don't necessarily like to be on open mic all the time. You don't have to. You can simply be on push to talk. You don't have to communicate with them. They don't have to be your best friend. But that little bit of intel on cracking shields and telling your teammates about it is incredibly useful. Guys, I hope you find this video helpful. I hope you did enjoy it. I'll see you all in the next one. Make sure to like the video if you did like the video, and I'll catch you all over on Twitch. The link's in the top of the description. Good luck in your ranked games, and I'll see you all in Masters.